A 72-year-old patient once told me, "Doc, I've been doing it the same way for 50 years, but lately something feels wrong." He wasn't sick. He wasn't on new meds, but what was quietly damaging his body. Masturbation, not the act itself, but how he was doing it, and he had no idea it was harming his heart, his prostate, even his ability to feel. I'm Dr. Mohit Kara, a urologist with over 60 years of experience helping men over 60 maintain strength, circulation, and confidence without shame pills or guesswork. You've been told it's healthy, but after 60, some private habits can quietly become harmful without a single warning sign. In this video, I'll reveal 7 mistakes older men make during masturbation and how to fix them before they affect your energy performance or long-term health. And mistake number 6 is the one almost every man gets wrong. Let's get started. Before we dive in, if you haven't already subscribed, now's a good time to hit that button and turn on the bell so you don't miss any future advice tailored to men over 60. And if this video speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0. Your feedback helps me create better content for you. Now, let's take a closer look at the first mistake, one that's become more common in recent years, and yet silently reshapes how your brain and body respond to pleasure. Mistake 1, using porn as the primary stimulus. Over the years, I've had countless men, usually in their late 60s or early 70s, sit across from me with the same quiet concern. "Doctor," they say, "I can't seem to feel much anymore. It's like my body's going numb and I don't know why." More often than not, I ask them a simple question. How often do you rely on pornography? And almost every time their eyes drop. Not because they're ashamed, but because they never realized it might be doing harm. You see, when you're over 60, your brain's dopamine system, the one responsible for pleasure and motivation, is no longer as sharp or flexible as it used to be. Watching endless clips of high-speed, high-intensity adult content floods your brain with more stimulation than it was ever designed to handle. And when you do that, day after day, week after week, your brain adapts in the worst way possible. It begins to numb itself. That means the very thing you once enjoyed, the real natural spark of intimacy, starts to fade. Touch doesn't feel the same. Your body doesn't respond as quickly. And even if you're still physically healthy, your ability to connect deeply, to feel something real, quietly slips away. What's even more tragic is that many older men blame themselves. They think they've just lost it with age. But in truth, it's not age, it's overstimulation. And if you don't reset your brain's response system, this kind of numbness can linger for years, even decades. So, if you've noticed a drop in sensitivity, in connection, or in satisfaction, don't ignore it. This first mistake might be the hidden reason behind it all. And what's even more surprising, the next mistake has nothing to do with what you watch, but where you do it, and how that environment silently harms your body in ways most men never see coming. Mistake 2. Masturbating while sitting on the toilet. This one might sound harmless at first, even convenient. Over the years, I've spoken with many older men who admit quietly that the bathroom has become their private space, not just for hygiene, but for release. It's where no one interrupts, where the door locks, and where routines feel safe. But what most don't realize is that masturbating while sitting, especially on the toilet, is doing far more harm than they think. As men age, circulation becomes one of the most important systems to protect. Blood flow is the foundation of healthy sexual function, prostate wellness, and even your ability to recover after climax. But sitting for extended periods, especially in that hunched-over compressed position, many men take on the toilet restricts blood flow to the pelvic region. It puts pressure on the prostate, tightens the pelvic floor, and subtly damages the nerves that are already more fragile with age. I've seen the pattern so clearly. Men in their late 60s and 70s developed swelling post-urination, dribbling difficulty, fully emptying the bladder, or aching around the groin. Yet they never connected to this private habit. But I can tell you, as a urologist who's reviewed the scans, heard the stories, and followed up on outcomes, this seemingly innocent position can set off a slow chain reaction that makes everything from intimacy to urination feel worse over time. The solution isn't complicated. It's simply a matter of awareness. If this sounds familiar, consider changing your environment. Stand recline. Give your pelvic area space to breathe and circulate, because trust me, your prostate is quietly begging you to stop squeezing it. Now, if you think this mistake was surprising, wait until you hear the next one. It's something most older men do without even realizing it, and it's secretly rewiring their body to feel less every time they try to enjoy themselves. Mistake 3, rushing the experience. One of the most common habits I see in older men, especially those who've been through decades of stress routine or simply learned to keep things quick and quiet, is rushing through the experience of self-pleasure. They treat it like a task to complete a moment to get over with rather than something to be felt fully. But here's the problem. After 60, your body no longer functions well under pressure, literally or emotionally. I've had patients tell me, "Doc, I just want to get it done. I don't have time to linger." But when you rush, you send your nervous system into a state of tension. Your heart rate rises too quickly. Blood vessels constrict. The relaxation and hormonal benefits of release oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin don't reach their full potential. You may climax, but your body doesn't get the true reward. Instead of feeling satisfied, you feel emptier. Instead of energized, you feel drained. Worse, this rushed pattern teaches your body that pleasure is fast, shallow, and disconnected. Over time, you begin to lose sensitivity. You can't hold arousal. You struggle to maintain interest with a partner. And all the while, you think it's just old age. But it's not. It's the habit of urgency, a habit that's quietly robbing you of something far more powerful than just a few minutes of relief. Slow it down. Let each moment be intentional. Your body is still capable of deep sensation if you give it the space to feel. Breathe. Pause. There's no finish line anymore, only presence. And speaking of presence, most men don't even realize they're neglecting one of the most important muscle groups in the male body, a hidden system that controls everything from erection strength to bladder control. That's coming up next. And once you understand it, everything about your sexual health could change. Mistake 4. Ignoring the pelvic floor. Most men have never even heard of it, and yet the pelvic floor is one of the most vital parts of your body, especially after 60. It's the foundation beneath your bladder, your prostate, your sexual organs, the hidden engine that powers everything from erections to orgasms to urinary control. And when this group of muscles is weak or neglected, everything begins to suffer quietly but profoundly. I remember a man in his late 60s, former athlete, proud father, who came to me complaining about a drop in sexual performance. "Doc," he said, "I'm eating well. I exercise, but something just doesn't work anymore." What he didn't realize was that his pelvic floor, once strong and engaged during youth, had grown dormant. Years of sitting, holding stress in the lower abdomen, and ignoring that part of his body had left him disconnected and struggling. When you masturbate without engaging your pelvic floor, or worse, when you bear down and push, you're placing unnecessary pressure on your prostate and weakening the very muscles that should be supporting it. Over time, this leads to leaking, dribbling, decreased erection quality, and reduced sensation during climax. It's not something that hits all at once. It creeps in quietly year after year. But here's the good news. You can reactivate those muscles. Gently tightening the area you'd use to stop a stream of urine during arousal builds awareness and strength. With time, this simple habit can restore not only physical function but also confidence. And speaking of confidence, too much or too little activity in this part of your life can actually throw your entire system off balance. You might be surprised to learn that frequency, how often you touch yourself, can play a much bigger role than you've been told. Let's explore why next. Mistake 5, frequency that's too high or too low. This is a subject many older men hesitate to talk about. Some worry they're doing it too often. Others quietly wonder if they've gone too long without. And somewhere between shame, confusion, and outdated advice, most men over 60 end up walking a lonely, uncertain path. What I've seen in my practice is this: both extremes can cause harm. When a man masturbates too frequently out of habit, boredom, or unresolved emotion, his body often can't keep up. Energy levels drop, prostate tissue becomes irritated, and over time he may notice it takes longer to recover, or that his interest in real intimacy fades. It becomes less about desire and more about routine, and that dulls the nervous system and drains vitality. On the other end, some men stop altogether. Maybe it's due to medication, health concerns, religious guilt, or just the belief that they're too old now. But what they don't realize is that the body, like any system, needs regular circulation. Sexual arousal, even without climax, helps keep blood flowing to the genitals, nourishes nerve endings, and maintains erectile strength. When that's absent for too long, atrophy sets in. Desire fades, and the door to connection, both physical and emotional, begins to close without warning. There's no perfect number, but for most men over 61 to 2 times per week, done consciously with presence and care, is often the sweet spot. It allows the body to maintain circulation, restore hormonal rhythm, and keep the system alive without exhaustion. Remember, this isn't about rules. It's about listening. Your body speaks quietly in older age. The key is learning to hear it. And yet, even when frequency is right, one common mistake can still undo all the progress. It's something most men do instinctively without realizing it's damaging their nerves and changing the very shape of their manhood. Let me show you what that is next. Mistake 6, using too much pressure or force. This is one of the most overlooked mistakes I see in older men and one of the most damaging. I can't count how many patients have sat across from me frustrated and confused, saying things like, "Doc, I don't feel as much as I used to," or "It's taking more effort than ever." And behind those words is often one silent habit they never thought twice about, using too much pressure when they touch themselves. I get it. As sensitivity decreases with age, the natural response is to grip tighter, press harder, or try to recreate that lost feeling with intensity. But here's the truth your body is trying to tell you. Force doesn't restore feeling, it destroys it. The nerves in your penis are delicate, especially in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Years of aggressive friction, hard squeezing, or relying on objects or surfaces that apply too much force can lead to real physical damage. Micro tears in the tissue, loss of elasticity, even scarring beneath the surface, which may cause curvature. Reduced blood flow and pain during arousal. It's not just uncomfortable, it can permanently change your anatomy. This kind of trauma is a silent thief. It doesn't show up overnight. It builds slowly, and by the time you notice the difference, the damage is often well underway. But there's another layer to this. When a man feels he has to fight for pleasure, he disconnects from the joy of it. It becomes a struggle instead of something healing. That mental pattern alone can reshape the body's ability to relax and receive. So take a gentler approach. Your body deserves it. Your future self will thank you. And speaking of disconnection, there's one final mistake that goes deeper than technique, deeper than the body. It's something spiritual, emotional, and all too common among older men, and it might be the most damaging of all. Let's talk about it. Mistake 7. Masturbating without emotion, connection, or intention. This is the most invisible mistake of all, and often the most heartbreaking. It's not about what you do, or how often, or even where. It's about how you feel when you do it. Over time, many older men begin to view self-pleasure as something mechanical, routine, empty, stripped of meaning. It becomes a quiet escape from loneliness or a dull habit done without thought, without emotion, and without intention. I've spoken with so many men in their 60s, 7s, and beyond who say the same thing. It doesn't feel like it used to. Or, I don't even know why I bother anymore. And the truth is, their bodies may still function, but their hearts aren't in it. There's no connection, no presence, no warmth. And that emotional distance takes a toll not just mentally, but physically. When masturbation is disconnected from emotion, it trains the nervous system to expect pleasure without purpose. You might still climax, but your brain and body don't release the same healing hormones. You don't get the oxytocin that boosts mood, or the dopamine that builds motivation. Instead, you're left with a sense of flatness, a shadow of what the experience used to be. And even more deeply, it reinforces the idea that pleasure is something you do alone in silence without joy. But that's not how it has to be. Even solo touch can be sacred, mindful, and affirming. It can be a moment to reconnect with your aging body, not in shame, but in gratitude. Your body is still yours. It still feels. It still matters. Now that we've explored all 7 mistakes, let's pull everything together. Because the real transformation begins when you understand how to rebuild, how to reconnect with strength, confidence, and vitality at any age. Let's talk about what comes next. Ignoring the bigger picture, your body is still speaking to you. If you've made it this far, I want to speak to you not just as a doctor, but as someone who deeply respects the journey you're on. Over the years, I've watched so many good men struggle in silence. They blame age, they blame time, some even blame themselves. But the truth is, no one ever taught us how to care for our bodies as they age, especially when it comes to sexuality, pleasure, and connection. You've just heard the 7 most common mistakes older men make when it comes to masturbation, and none of them come from laziness or ignorance. They come from habit, from decades of doing what used to work, not realizing that the body, like life, changes slower circulation, a more sensitive prostate, a nervous system that no longer tolerates force, or neglect a heart that longs not just for sensation but for meaning. Let me be clear. There is nothing shameful about touching yourself. There is nothing shameful about seeking comfort, relief, or even joy through your own body. What becomes dangerous is when we stop paying attention, when we rush, when we disconnect, when we assume that what once worked will always work. You see every one of those mistakes: using porn too often, masturbating in poor positions, rushing the process, neglecting the pelvic floor, doing it too much or too little, applying excessive pressure, or going through the motions without emotion has one thing in common: disconnection. And that's the real threat. Not age, not desire, but the slow erosion of your connection to your own body, your own pleasure, and your own vitality. But here's the good news. It's not too late. It never is. Your body is still talking to you. Even if it's quieter now, even if it takes longer to respond, even if things don't feel the same, it's still alive. And it wants your attention, your care, your respect. Just like a classic car, it needs different handling with age, but that doesn't make it less valuable. In fact, in many ways, it makes it more sacred. So what do you do now? Start small. Be gentler, be more mindful. Relearn the landscape of your body. Use intention, not habit. Use curiosity, not shame. Stop chasing performance and start honoring sensation. Don't be afraid to breathe, to pause, to feel. And most of all, don't stop believing that connection is still possible within yourself and with others. I've seen men in their 60s, 70s, even early 80s turn their health, their intimacy, and their energy around once they stopped seeing aging as the end and started seeing it as a shift. You deserve that shift. You deserve to feel again. You deserve to live with awareness, strength, and dignity, even in the most private corners of your life. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about avoiding mistakes. It's about reclaiming the quiet power that's still within you. And I promise it's still there. Now take what you've learned, apply it gently, and remember, your best years are not behind you. They're in how you choose to live this next chapter with care, with wisdom, and with pride. If this helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with another man who needs to hear it.